The journey of Excel is a journey of formulas, commands, interfaces, and you will find that most of your work you'll be interacting with the formulas. Let us start with the basics of formulas. We shall look at the formulas including the count formula, the rank formula, where you are counting the number of transactions, you are counting the number of entries, and then we use the sum formula where you're adding values. We use the ranking formula to see the order in which numbers are arranged, performance from the first up to the last or from the last up to the first, and also other formulas like if condition. For example, you want to say if a student is a male, then allocate dormitory A. If the student is female, allocate dormitory B. There are a multiplicity of formulas in Excel, but before we look at how many they are, let's get into the basics of formulas and also how we can be able to make the formulas dynamic by controlling how our formulas run using the relative and absolute references. This is going to be interesting for us, and let's get into it.
Let's look at functions and formulas. One of the most important uses of Excel is to analyze data, to arrange data, to organize data, and to visualize data. And in doing that, one of the most handy tools in Excel are functions. So what are functions? Functions constitute predefined formulas that perform calculations by way of specifying values called arguments, and these values are specified in a particular order or structure. Whereas functions are predefined in Excel, then we also have formulas which the user can define. For example, if I want to add two numbers, 5 and 6, I can choose to say put equal signs, and I say 5 plus, and Excel will tell me that the answer is 11. On the other hand, I can choose to put equal signs and then press the word sum. Excel is advising me on what to do. First of all, when I'm entering the formula and I enter a letter, it gives me options, gives me sum ifs, and tells me for sum, it adds all numbers in a range of cells. Tells me for sum if, adds the cells specified by a given condition or criteria, and for sum ifs, add the cells specified by a given set of conditions or criteria, sum product. So actually, as you enter a function that is predefined in Excel, Excel keeps advising you on basically what you can achieve with that formula by giving you a definition of that formula. So if I come and put sum, if I double click on the sum, the function that I want, Excel is going to ask me to enter a number. So I can enter a number 5, and then I put a comma because Excel is already telling me put a comma, then I put a 6, and I can keep putting as many numbers as may be required. And Excel also shows me that at the end I need to put a bracket. There is a bracket at the opening and a bracket at the closing. So a formula is opened after writing the formula, the function name, then the brackets, and then you follow the arguments as shown by Excel, and then you close at the end. Then for you to execute the formula, press enter, and it will actually give the answer. So let us now look at how we can enter a function in Excel. As we have already seen, for you to enter a function, you actually start with equal signs. And once you have input equal signs, then if you know the function offhand, then feel free to enter the function. You can put average, and as you type a name, Excel will constructively advise you on the different functions that exist under that name. So if I say av, it gives me avdev, average, average year, average if, and as I said, when you press a downward arrow and toggle between the different functions, Excel tells you what the respective functions do. So if I continue typing word average and I double click on average, it automatically activates the average function, and then also opens for you or for me the opening bracket, and it is asking me to put the number. So for example, if I have this, I can put a 5, a 6, a 7, an 8, and a 50, and when I close the bracket, Excel gives me average of those numbers. If I was to remove a 50 and replace it with a 5, it will still tell me what the average is. So one way of entering the function is actually to put equal signs and type the function. However, you can also type a function. You can also run a function by actually going to the insert function button in Excel. Now the insert function button is this button FX that is at the bottom of the Excel main ribbon. So if I come and click in any cell and I go and click on the insert function, Excel will open for me the insert function dialog box, and then Excel gives you an option, first of all, to type a brief description of what you want to do, and then click go. So say, for example, find the average or the mean, and I press OK. Excel is recommending formulas that I can use. If I say totaling numbers and I click go, let me put the word total and I click go. So it is giving me subtotal and many other formulas. If I say add and I click go, it is giving me add, base, dsum, imsum, and giving me sum if. So it is giving me different options depending on how I give the hint to Excel. But also, depending on what you have been doing with your Excel, Excel actually gives you a category of the functions that you can use. So functions exist under categories, so you can go to most recently used, and Excel will tell you what you have recently used. You can go to all functions. Now that will start from A to Z. You can go to financial functions if you are an accountant or a finance professional, and it will give you the functions that are used for finance and accounting. Date and time, Excel will give you a list of functions in that category, and all those other functions. And these functions range from easy to complex. Now, when you have gotten the function that you require, for example, let me randomly choose a function called EO month. So I double click. Now, before I double click, let me EO month. So Excel tells you the definition that this returns the serial number of the last day of the month before or after a specified number of month. So when you click OK, Excel opens and asking you what is the start date. You have to put a date. So let me say start date. I will first go and type a date somewhere. So let me put a date of today. I again use another function for me to write this date, and I just open brackets and close it and say today. So if I go to the function button and I say insert and I say end of month, then I press OK. Start date. Now, when you see this upward looking button in a function window, you can actually click it and it takes you to a cell that you want. So I can select this cell, that is my beginning date. Now, after selecting it, there is another window that gives me a downward button to go back to my function arguments. Then it is asking me number of months. This Excel is telling me that it returns the serial number of the last day of the month before or after a specified number of months. Then I press OK. Now it is already giving me what the result is, 4523, and I press OK. Now this number, of course, it is a serial number, but it is a date. So if I go and give it the right format under home, then under the number format, I put a short date. So it will actually give me that the date of the end of month ending 3 months from today is the 31st of October 2023. So basically you can type a formula, or you can have Excel advise you on the formula to use by dialoguing with Excel through the insert function button, which will take you to a dialog box or a dialog window, and then you can choose the formula of interest. So let us now look at basic formulas that we have in Excel that we can use at a beginner level. For example, to demonstrate the Excel functions, and note that we are using the formula and functions interchangeably, even when they may not be strictly the same, but for the purposes of our understanding, for a normal Excel user, there may not be a practical reason to differentiate between a function and a formula. But note that a function is predefined in Excel, while a formula is built or defined by the user. So let's look at the grades. These are grades of a class, and we want to start by ranking them. Now let's look at the rank function. So again, like I said, we can put equal signs. I can actually type it, and it is giving me two functions, rank average and rank equal. So if I use rank average, this formula returns the rank of a number in a list of numbers, its size relative to other values in the list. If more than one value has the same rank, the average rank is returned. So for rank average, the average value is returned if two numbers are equal. Then rank equal says that it returns the rank of a number in a list of numbers, its size relative to other values in the list. If more than one value has the same rank, the top rank of that set of values is returned. So let's use rank average. We click on rank average, and then we put a number. I'm putting B3, and then Excel is asking me here to insert a comma, and then I'm ranking this number with what reference? The reference is the rest of the numbers. Then there is a comma, and every time an Excel function gives these the block brackets, then it means that that argument is optional. So each of these values that are separated by a comma are called arguments in a function. Now Excel is asking us to advise it how we want the numbers ranked. Do we want to rank from the highest to the lowest, or from the lowest to the highest? So descending is from the highest to the lowest, and then ascending is from the lowest to the highest. So for us, let's rank from the highest. Descending, we put a 0 and we press OK. Let me first press F4 and press F4, and I will demonstrate why I'm pressing F4. That inserts dollar signs on each of the numbers of the arguments that I have clicked in, and I press OK. Now a formula can be applied to other parts of the Excel worksheet by using two means. One is to click in the cell where the formula is written, and then form a bold cross at the left bottom corner of the cell, and when you right click, then it pastes the formula down. Alternatively, when I get that cross, I can actually press my cursor down and I drag. Alternatively, and the one I recommend most, is you copy. You can say Ctrl C, or you come and you right click and copy. Then you highlight the rest of the cells. You right click, or use a shortcut if you are sure of the shortcut. You click paste special, and what you're interested in is to paste formulas, and then you highlight formulas. So remember that every time you paste without specifying that you're pasting formulas, you are actually pasting many things that you may not know, and a list of those paste options are actually here in the paste special dialog box, and it includes the formulas, values, formats, comment, validation, and many other things. So it's good to right click, paste special, and you specify. Now, having looked at how we can enter the functions, let us now look at how we can enter this rank function using the insert function button. So we press insert function, and then we come in the description, we can type rank, and then it is giving us rank average, and we click OK, and Excel is asking us for the number, and we then press this upward facing arrow, and we come and click a cell that has the number that we want to rank. Then we go and click the reference. So what are we comparing that number with? We click the rest of these numbers. Now remember, this function dialog box does not actually put for you the dollar signs. So I can press F4 and I put a dollar signs. I click the beginning cell and I also press F4, and it gives me that dollar sign. And then the order, I already know. Now Excel is advising you that order is a number, rank in the list sorted descending is 0 or omitted. So we put 0, or you put nothing, it will be a descending order. And then if you want to put ascending order, you put any non-zero value. So for us, we can omit and press OK, and it will bring our 7.5, and then we can do dragging or copy and paste special, or whatever else we want to do for us to be able to paste the formula. Now, why are we putting dollar signs? Now, first of all, these dollar signs that you can see in this range B3 to B13, the easiest way to input them is to keep pressing the F4 function. And what do they do? Let me try to remove my dollar signs. Again, I can remove them by pressing F4 key repeatedly. So if I come and put my rank average, and then I put the number 20, I put the reference, and I just close and I enter, and I scroll down. As it can be seen that the numbers are different from the numbers that we got when we first used the rank with the dollar signs. Now, that dollar sign, when it is on both the column and the row argument, that is called absolute reference. And if it is only on the row reference or column reference, that is known as relative reference, either with respect to the column or with respect to the row. Now, why do we do that? Note that we want to compare all numbers against the entire range. Now here we have the range B3 to B13, same with the next one, then the next one, all of them are B3 to B13. But when you come to the second rank column, the first cell is B3 to B13, the second cell is B4 to B14, the third cell is B5 to B15. So as you can see that our cell reference keeps changing, and it's not our intention. Why? Because Excel uses a pattern. If you move down, Excel will move references moving down. If you move to the right, Excel will also move references. If it's not your intention and you want Excel to remain fixed in the range that you have referenced, so you have to use the dollar signs, which you can activate by repeatedly pressing a F4 button. This is really very important in Excel for you to learn and get used to using the absolute and relative cell references and knowing where they are applicable. So let us now look at how we can compute the average. Again, I will type in average and then I come and highlight these numbers and I press enter and it's telling me that my average is 34. Then I can compute the maximum by putting the max function. If you do not know it, you can use the Excel helper by clicking the insert function button. Now I can put numbers manually. I can say 20, 30, then I type all numbers up to 25. So I can put the numbers up to the last one and I close bracket and I press enter. If I come and do the same max, but now instead of typing number by number, I just come and highlight my range and I close and I press enter to still give me. So if I come and do the same for the minimum, and I press enter, or I come and type in mean and I highlight my numbers and I press enter. Mod, Excel is supposed to give me the number that appears most. Mod is the divisor. So if I, for example, say mod and I say 73, now what is Excel going to return for me? It's going to return to me the remainder when you divide 7 by 3. So we know that when you divide 7 by 3, you get 2 and the remainder is 1. So the mod or the modulus is 1. Median, let's look for the median. And Excel is telling me that the median returns the median or the number in the middle of a set of a given numbers. So if I again select my range and I close, it tells me that the median is 25. Now, assuming I want to identify who passes and who fails, and I have my pass mark as 50. Now, the if function can actually help me attach text on who passed and who failed. And how does the if function work? So if function is a logical test and the arguments include the logical test, what value should be returned if it is true and what value should be returned if it is false? So if I say if and I say if this number is greater or equal to 50, that is my logical test. So I put a comma. So what should happen if it is true? Then you put pass. I want the cell to return pass. Now when you are writing a text in a formula and not a number, that text has to be within quotation marks. Then I put a comma. What about if it is false? I come and put a fail. So in inverted commas, I close, press enter. So if I come and scroll, Excel will be referring to the respective cells from B3 to B13 relatively against each of the numbers. So this is how you can use the fail. And then if I want to count how many people have passed and how many have failed, I can use the COUNTIF function. First of all, before the COUNTIF function, let me first of all count how many students that we had in class. So if I come and count, then I highlight all the numbers, I close, and I press enter. Excel tells me that I have 11, and as you can see, we actually have 11. And now remember that there is a status bar in Excel. When you highlight this range, it gives you the average, it gives you the count, and it gives you the sum. And basically you can see the average is 34, the count is 11, and the sum is 381. Let's compute our sum here. So if we sum the numbers in a range and press enter, it is 381. So you can see that our status bar is aligned to our formulas. The count is 11 here, sum is 381, and the average is 34.63. So if we want to count how many have passed and how many have failed, there are two ways of doing it. Now that we have already identified in this column J who has failed, we can just COUNTIFS. So what is the criteria range? The argument criteria range. The criteria range is this whole range, and then the criteria, again, we put in brackets. We want to get those who have failed. Be sure to get the spelling right. If you get it wrong, it will not give you the answer. So it tells us that 9 have failed, and if we want to get those who have passed, we again put COUNTIFS, and then the criteria range is this, and then the criteria is pass. So this is briefly about the functions in Excel. There are a wide range of formulas. We cannot name all of them, and the learner is advised, or it is recommended that one, we get to understand the meaning of the useful formulas that we want to use in Excel, the arguments of that formula, and then we also practice how to do relative and absolute references, and we shall be able to excel in our data analysis and every other work that we do in Excel.